Awkward silences are always anytime you're trying to socialize in a new environment. Hey, how you doing? Pretty good. That's good. Yeah. If this happens to you often, you're in the right video. If you find it difficult to find topics to talk about in other settings, I will teach you how to deal with that. Also, what topics can you talk about that will attract other people's attention and help you have a healthy conversation? Of course, there are ways to achieve this. When I searched for this topic on Reddit, I saw that there were a lot of threads about it, so I thought I'd check it out. The question was, how do you deal with awkward silence? There were a lot of silly and funny suggestions, but one person said, I cringe and die a little inside, then blurt out something ridiculous. There are probably better ways. In reply to, same always gets me in trouble though. I could swear this happens to absolutely everyone who clicks on this video, but I can't prove it. 1. Realize the background of what you are going through. People who find it difficult to find something to talk about are usually people with self-confidence problems. What does this mean? Basically, every person has something to share. However, if a person is constantly oppressing himself, herself internally, if she has been indoctrinating himself, herself for years, such as you are worthless, the things you tell will not attract people's attention, you are very boring, a person starts to really believe these indoctrinations after a while. You say to yourself that no matter what I tell, it will not attract people's attention. I am boring, and this becomes so much your truth that when you want to tell something, you don't like the topics you have in your bag, you find them boring, and you look for new, very remarkable things, and this causes a vicious circle, and you have difficulty in finding a topic to tell. So actually, you don't have a problem in not finding a topic to talk about. You have a problem in choosing a topic to talk about. You say that the topics in the bag are too boring and worthless, and you look for bright topics to talk about. People with self-confidence problems do not only do this, there are those who take it to very advanced stages that they humiliate themselves so much that they develop an inferiority complex. They always turn the conversation in their favor and turn it into a show to prove themselves. Every time you meet, you tell the other side what you eat and drink. Maybe you can impress the other side with this 1 or 2 times, but after a while, the other side starts to get bored with you. And not only bored, but after a while, he realizes the inferiority complex in you. While you are trying to prove yourself, you suddenly realize that your value in the eyes of the other person has decreased. Which one are you? Find the root of your problem, accept it, and try to solve it. 2. Take the first step. It is very important to take the first step in finding a topic to talk about in the first place. In which social environments are you in? In which social environments do you find it difficult to speak? You may want to put these on a worksheet. Maybe you can make yourself aware of this problem. First of all, in which environments do you want to talk? What are the characteristics of the people in that environment? What do you have in common with these people? These commonalities are one of the most important branches that you will hold on to in order to start the first conversation. Now, let's say you are taking the same courses with these people. You have the same teachers. You commute by the same bus. In fact, there are so many common topics that you can talk to these people. You can ask them so many things. This is very important to get involved by asking questions. So what have you done? You asked, what do you think about this exam? What do you think about that teacher? And you got an answer from the other side and you prepared the environment to continue the conversation. How did you do this? You started a conversation based on common topics. But it's not just about starting a conversation, because now you're at the breaking point. Either you're going to care about the other person and ask questions about their life or their thoughts and throw the ball to the other person and wait for an answer from them, or you're going to say, oh, okay, and end the conversation. So you need to be able to control this moment of detachment from the conversation. Well, 3. Use 5W1H. I know a very good way to keep the conversation going. Who, what, where, when, why, how. These are questions that allow you to examine an issue, a situation from all sides. If you get stuck in a conversation, you can use these questions. Questions like, when did it happen? What happened? Are actually a way to keep the conversation going. Of course, asking more in-depth questions that touch on personal interests can put the other person at the center of the conversation, making them more comfortable and eager to talk. But this is only possible after getting to know the other person a little. 4. Suppress negative thoughts inside. But still, maybe while you are talking to the other person, a voice inside you will say to you, "You are boring the other person, you are talking about silly things." You will say to that voice inside you that you will stop here for a minute because I will complete this conversation today no matter what. So if you can turn that voice down at that moment, this is very important because even if you make the most valuable speech in the world, that voice will always be there and it will negatively affect your speech as long as you pay attention to the negative voice inside you. 5. Listen actively. Listen actively. Broaden your interests and ask bold questions. Sometimes you will have a great dialogue and sometimes things will not work out. This is normal, but in any case, enjoy the conversation and don't get too bored. 6. Ask what you are really curious about. Sometimes the best conversations come from unexpected topics and seemingly mundane questions. Everyone has their own interesting stories and things to share. The important thing is to be genuinely curious and open. And remember, even if some conversations don't work out, it's not a shortcoming of you or the other person. It's just that sometimes people's energies don't match, and that's okay too. We don't have to create perfect conversations every time. Personally, if I'm really curious about something and I ask in a respectful way, I don't think any question is silly because I actually just want to learn more. How can wanting to learn more about something be silly? 7. Use humor. The appropriate use of humor makes communication more sincere and fun and is an effective tool for strengthening social bonds as well as softening tense moments. When people laugh, they feel more relaxed and begin to sympathize with the other person, which facilitates communication. However, it is important to use humor in the right way. Otherwise, it can lead to misunderstandings. If you hold someone you just met and say, "Oh, your hair looks like that," the other person may be offended and you may ruin the conversation. Instead, you can make humor about yourself without denigrating and humiliating yourself. 8. Be sincere. An emotional bond is one of the strongest bonds in the world, and adopting a friendly communication style increases mutual trust and helps build deeper connections. Sincere people always seem more likable and trustworthy. It makes the other person trust you. People communicate more openly and honestly when they feel safe. This contributes a lot to strengthening relationships. 9. Sometimes just change the interlocutor. I have noticed that sometimes, no matter what I do, the conversation doesn't move forward. Why does this happen? There is a simple reason. Sometimes people are not good conversationalists themselves, or they have had a bad day, or sometimes they are just not interested in talking. So I realize that it's okay to stop when I need to. Maybe I met someone just like that on an uninteresting date or at a party. It's okay. It's not as big a deal as I thought it was. I learned not to water a dead plant. When I was 18, I wish someone had told me this. You don't have to carry the whole burden of a speech on your shoulders. If a conversation is stagnating or the other person seems disinterested or leaves the conversation, you don't have to take all the blame on yourself. You say, "Well, it's good to have this pressure off my shoulders, but I still don't know what to say." The good thing is that you don't have to know what to say. If you look in a dictionary, you will find the definition of speech as follows: a conversation, especially an informal one, between two or more people, the exchange of news and ideas. So, feeling that you have to fill every pause is a pressure, and it is a burden that you should not carry alone. If you like this video, don't forget to send it to a friend in need. Click on this video if you are curious about ways to study faster like cheating.